We're still celebrating SummerSlam month, and here at the Wrestling Chatter wants to know, not just all you guys, but our panelists, Jack and Flobo, what are your top 7 non-title SummerSlam matches of all time?
Yeah, for me, this was a much trickier task than I expected. There's a lot of really good stuff on SummerSlam every year, and sometimes I think we take it for granted. For me, when I was looking at these matches, I was looking at the stuff that really was memorable, the stuff that was iconic moments, and the stuff that had a lasting impact going forward. So for me, I start at number 7, Triple H versus Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar breaking the arm of Triple H, I think was a big moment at the time. Then for number 6, I had Punk versus Brock. 2 Heyman guys going at it. I think that was a match that CM Punk earned a lot of respect from the fans. At number 5, we've got Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels. For all the fun ways that Shawn Michaels got beat up, I thought it was memorable. Plus, it was 2 icons going at it. It's 2 guys we never thought we'd see in a match. We got to see it. Then I have AJ Styles versus John Cena. That was the match that made AJ a star in the WWE. After that, I have Mankind versus Undertaker in the Boiler Room Brawl. The Boiler Room Brawl back in '96, it just felt iconic and legendary. The Boiler Room was a legendary place back in the '90s. Then I had to put Mysterio versus Guerrero in the ladder match for Dominic. It's a match we still talk about. It's a thing we still reference all the time. HBK versus Triple H in the 2002 Street Fight was a banger of a match. But I think the thing that I remember the most when it comes to non-title matches, the moment that stands out to me is when Undertaker chokeslammed Edge all the way to hell in Hell in a Cell in 2008. And for me, that's the top list.
I can't imagine any list with Edge on it. That's just neither here nor there. Look, there's a couple of matches that didn't make the cut for me. The Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks at SummerSlam 98. Steve Blackman against Shane McMahon at SummerSlam 2000 when Shane got thrown off the Titantron, because that spectacle is what we want in wrestling, George. And what about DX versus the McMahons? Because that was really the last time the DX came and were the irreverent selves, instead of being the grizzled old guys of getting back to band together. But my top 7 runs the gamut, but most of them are modern matches because I think SummerSlam has matured like fine wine. Number 7, like Jack, I had Hogan versus Shawn Michaels. Again, it's not going to be regarded as one of the best technical matches there, but it was a lot of fun. End of the summer, you turned Shawn Michaels heel for like a drop. You had crazy overselling. Can we use that insider term? Fan of that. Number 6, Undertaker versus Undertaker from SummerSlam 94.
What?
I mean, that blew my mind. There's 2 Undertakers? What's going on? And which one's the good guy?
Yeah.
And remember the matchup screen? One guy was like a broken glass. It was crazy. Before that, though, I had Batista versus Cena at SummerSlam 2008. That was the first year that SummerSlam was marketed as the biggest blockbuster of the summer. So imagine the matchup screen, you got like Batista had got the fancy like Lamborghini with the glasses, and John Cena running through the explosion a la 12 rounds, the Marine. The match itself was pretty solid, but I thought it was pretty cool of getting everyone to sit down. I remember I think I was on my futon in college going, this is awesome, eating my ramen noodles. Number 4, also like Jack, Dominic on the line. He's right. We still say I'm your poppy, and we all get it. We all laugh and go, ha, ha, ha. Oh, Eddie. And it's awesome that match would happen at that event, and no titles were on the line, and that was great. But the ladies cannot be left out. So number 3, I had Charlotte versus Trish Stratus last year at SummerSlam Toronto. Trish Stratus, if not the greatest, one of the greatest of all time. Charlotte Flair, if not the greatest, one of the greatest of all time. And they combined, it was great. I loved it. I remember watching it with you, Jack, being like, damn, this match is fly. Number 2, Triple H versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam 2012. I said this on Twitter. George disagreed with me. I think Brock Lesnar is Mr. SummerSlam because he has so many high-profile matches. And also, number 1, a year and a half of their previous encounter, Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, SummerSlam Brooklyn 2015. I thought that match was actually better than the WrestleMania encounter.
That's just because it was in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that didn't help. Yeah.
I got to confess, you guys, I messed up. This is what happens when you don't actually number your list. I had 8. So I have to take off Triple H versus Brock Lesnar.
Oh, wow.
Man.
I didn't notice that, and I'm doing that.
This is what happens when you're making your list. You don't know. But it was a banger of a match too. I'm with
I had 10.
Flobo.
That's cool.
When we look at the ones that didn't make the cut, I had Undertaker versus Brock on my didn't make the cut. I had John Cena versus Batista. I also had Hogan Savage versus Andre DiBiase. I had Randy Orton versus Brock Lesnar as well, because all things considered, that ending was brutal, and it was something that got people talking, and I still feel like a rematch between those two would print money. As far as Shane McMahon, he deserves some credit. That falling off the stage, or off the Titantron, was a moment. I thought him and his match with Test in '99 was also really good as well. But I agree with you, Flobo. George, you're going to hate me, but I think Brock is Mr. SummerSlam. The fact that he has so many matches on this list, and it's not even the title ones counting, I think says a lot here. The thing that blew me away the most, though, if I can add one more little detail, is I'm an old school guy. I like the 90s. I was big into wrestling during the Attitude Era, like so many of us were, but I think hands down, post-2000, SummerSlam is the way to go as far as the best matches. It really picked up steam. I'm actually kind of surprised in myself looking back and seeing just how good it has been over the past 20 years.
I just have to interject real quick because, and again, these lists that we're doing are a little bit more subjective than some of the other shows that we do. So
not mine.
I'm completely. With that said, how in the world? And again, if you think Undertaker versus Undertaker is top 7.
Yeah.
Cool. Whatever. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But how do you? And both of you. How do you not have Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle from SummerSlam 2002? Arguably the best SummerSlam ever, and you don't have the one that kicked off the actual show, which was such a banger in Mysterio and Angle, such a mix of styles, but yet it was just such a perfect match in my eyes. How do you both not have that on any of your lists?
I'll answer that one first, because that match was huge and it was amazing. But the thing is about Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio is that they have so many good matches together. A lot of times they get kind of melded together. We remember Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio because of the stipulation, the fact it was a ladder match over a human being. I'm not saying Rey Mysterio and Kurt Angle's trash. I'm just saying, Luke, pick which one you want. SmackDown's here, No Mercy's over there, and they do it all the time.
Yeah, Flobo, you hit the nail on the head on that one. It was a banger match, but all their matches were bangers of a match. And if you have to stop and go, wait, which one was this one again? Then it can't be on the best list because it doesn't stand out the same way that like an AJ versus Cena does. The Boiler Room Brawl, for instance, Mankind and Undertaker had matches, but Boiler Room Brawl stood out to me. I'm going to even defend Flobo again. Usually I don't defend Flobo.
Yeah, you never do that.
Usually we're on opposite sides of the fence, but today I'm even going to defend Undertaker versus Undertaker. One, it may have been because of the age I was at when I watched it, because I was with Flobo. I was like, there's 2 Undertakers.
How is that possible? Yeah.
This is crazy. And as anyone who knows me knows, I love the Undertaker. So the fact that there was twice as much Undertaker in this match as I normally got, I loved it too. I don't know. If I saw it today, I probably wouldn't feel the same way.
Yeah, don't watch it again. Don't.
But like I said, at that age, I was a kid. I was so little. I was like, hey, this is great. Oh my God, there's 2 Undertakers. This is amazing. I didn't know they had 2 of them.
That's great. SummerSlam's all about that.
The best the best part of that match was the build-up and the video packages that they were showing before the actual match, when they were saying, and we were wondering, where is the Undertaker? And you see all those like random like jewelry store owners. Oh, you won't believe who walked in today. It was the Undertaker. And you have the sandwich owner guy like, hey, what do you know? A guy walks in, he orders a pastrami sandwich, and I look up and it was the Undertaker. Oh my God. And then like you have the fireman like, oh my God, can you believe who we saw the other day? That was the best part of the actual match, was the actual vignettes. But you mentioned something earlier, Jack, that you were like, you couldn't put Ray against Kurt in that category. Now, granted, because it's not top 7, doesn't mean it's a bad match. Even if you're top 10, top 15 of the best SummerSlam non-title matches, that's still not a bad thing to have. So we're saying this with all respect to Ray and Kurt Angle. But you mentioned one of the reasons why it wasn't in your top 7 was because they had many matches that were kind of similar, and it was hard to differentiate them. So are you saying, especially because of your specific list, that you're able to differentiate every single AJ Styles versus John Cena match that we saw at Royal Rumble and SummerSlam and I want to say Money in the Bank?
Money in the Bank.
No, I felt like this one really cemented AJ. I feel like this is the one that kind of really made him, and it had a long-term impact for me. I think that's what makes him stand out. And again, going back to, the thing with Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio, whether they're matches together or matches with other people, every match they have is so good.
SmackDown 6.
Every match they have is amazing. So it's, you know what? I'm spoiled. I got spoiled with them. That's, like you said. And also at the end of the day, we're splitting hairs on all these. I mean, they're all great. Just because one might be number 7 on my list and is number 3 on Flobo's, or one might be a honorable mention on one but isn't on the list. They're all great. I mean, again, as wrestling fans, we're so spoiled. The fact that we can talk about this one doesn't make the list, even though it's incredible. But that's what makes SummerSlam so great. Flobo, you and I were chatting the other day about how something about SummerSlam is just magical. Even as a WCW guy, there was always something magical about SummerSlam, particularly, even though it's not on my list here, particularly that Highway to Hell SummerSlam was
98 to go
quite the show.
I remember going over to my cousin's house to watch Out of Body Experience, and that's what it really was, man. WrestleMania is the big event. There's history and all that stuff, but SummerSlam is like, man, it's the unofficial end of the unofficial end of summer. Get them to that school in a couple of weeks. There's usually some storylines that make no sense. Like at that same SummerSlam 99, wasn't there a feud that Al Snow had with Boss Man involving his dog Pepper? It was just weird stuff, man. And and I loved it because it was you could stay over, you can eat as many snacks as you wanted, and there was always a moment. Like my list, some guys wrestled again. Triple H and Brock Lesnar, they had some couple counters, but Hogan Michaels never happens again. Taker versus Taker, damn sure it happened again, and that's cool. It happened at that event.
With cinematic matches, it could happen again.
Well, I am the Undertaker. I'm fighting myself.
Real quick, I do want to add that I like the fact that you added on a Trish Stratus versus Charlotte, because we're so used to seeing a women's match at a SummerSlam before a title. So how much does it show you how much the women have evolved at the fact that we have a Trish versus Charlotte, not for a title, that you don't always have to have a title match for a woman to be featured in a big pay-per-view. Obviously at WrestleMania, we've never really seen a good singles match, not discounting Kat versus Terry and whatever that was at WrestleMania 2000, but we've never seen that one-on-one non-title match at a WrestleMania. And I think that you can't really go full force with the Women's Revolution. I've said this before on a different show, with Leslie Colon, that you can't really do that until you have that at WrestleMania. But we saw that at SummerSlam. We saw Charlotte versus Trish, just two women, not at their peak, obviously Trish, but I do think she's the greatest women's wrestler of all time. That's for another show. But we saw that at last year's SummerSlam. So what does that say nowadays, Flobo, that we're going to see hopefully a lot more women featured on these big pay-per-views, and it doesn't have to be for a championship?
Well, first of all, before we get into that, I just want to say that was a weird time for wrestling, going from Roman numerals to 2000 to X7. What was going on over there? Okay. Anyway, no, I think you're right, because Jack and I, we do this after show called Draped in Gold for the NXT world, and I always sing the praises that we have undercard women feud. The Robert Stone brand is doing things in undercard. That's true evolution. The moment you can say these are two competitors that have a beef, put them in the ring, then we've already won. You don't have to make everything that great. Charlotte Flair and Trish Stratus sells because everyone remembers that's 20, 25 years of wrestling between them as far as the fandoms. I think it's the start. I think it's a start where there's a lot of work to be done in the evolution, but it's a start.
What I really liked about that match too, Flobo, the Charlotte versus Trish match, is I've always said I think Charlotte is the best female wrestler of all time, and George has always said it's Trish, and the right woman won. So,
ooh. Signing off tonight, guys.
yeah. Let's wrap up. Where can people find you on Twitter?
Before George blocks you, Jack, where can he find you?
And it was fun being a part of the wrestling chat. This is the last time you'll see me. Oh, man. Yeah, you can find me at jackcfarmer.com as well as at realjackfarmer across all social media. You can also check me out drinking Broasters coffee at www.thebroasters.com. Promo code BROCODE1. You can also get a shirt at realjackfarmer.threadless.com. I also do a lead of the week every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific time, and I'm with this guy, Flobo. Which way is it? Flobo. On Draped in Gold every Thursday. I also do the Everything Tournament every Tuesday, so I try to keep busy. Tag along if you'd like at Real Jack Farmer.
Yeah, you are super busy. It's your boy Flobo. I'm at Flobo Boyce on Twitter, at Flobo Boyce on Instagram, and of course, flowbeto.com. Just Google me, bro.
Hey, it's Christy Olson. If you like this video as much as I did, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so they can join in the wrestling chatter too. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow the show on Twitter at TW Chatter. See you next time.